Hey, this is Jeff from A Light Within, and check out our new single, Dying Clock. And you've been listening to John the Ninja.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? I didn't even say breaking character. I didn't do the cross. I didn't do nothing funny. Today is a special day, and it's mainly because of my guest. But he is so kind. Our guest is so cool that I had to make a return to Studio A. So let's do it the old-fashioned way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the dojo. Welcome to the dojo, aka the John the Ninja Studios. You know this is A because we got C, D, and E, but I digress. The man I have here. See, I'm slurring my words. Let me calm down. That's because I'm too excited. Man I have here is proof that you don't even have to like the music that you will end up playing. He was so individualistic. He didn't want to listen to what his dad had. He wanted his own music. He is a child of the 80s listening to bands like Men at Work, Aha, but slowly and gradually, thanks to his brothers and cousin, but mainly his uncle, he found his way to playing rock music. But I digress back to the idea. He started on bass before became his calling. And ladies and gentlemen, thank goodness it was because the band I have here today that he is a part of, oh man, if you've heard about bands like The Sword or Obituary, wonderful example to explain how this band will take you on an emotional journey and will build you up musically. It is such a fantastic sit down. It's like you're cruising through the stars and enjoying the fact that you can actually take a moment, breathe in, and enjoy your life. But the band I speak of currently is A Light Within. They have been featured on Metal Injection, Metal Hammer, Ghost Cult, Decibel, and have reemerged. This band is from Kansas City, and they go as far back as 2013. But due to the pandemic, like many bands, they had to slow down, restart. But man, did they come back with a forceful sound. And as I've mentioned, other bands, they've been compared to Failure, Preoccupying Tree, A Perfect Circle. They blend the idea of Floyd and Bowie, and you'll appreciate this wonderful comeback they've had. Ladies and gentlemen, here to talk about the band's breakthrough song, Dying Clock, which just was released, a 9-minute single that will pull you to the stratosphere. Ladies and gentlemen, here to talk about A Light Within and their new band song single, Dying Clock, Jeff Irvine. Sir, how are you today?
Great. How are you doing? I love that. Can I
Man,
decide to come everywhere I go?
you look fantastic, sir. You are glowing. Tell
Thank
me,
you.
how is it over there? Is it still Kansas City you're residing in?
Yeah, I live in Kansas City, Missouri. Yep.
I did want to ask because you did meet portions of the band in Kansas City, and Kyle's spoken about the first meeting you guys had, but you've also spoken about being from the East Coast and having done your touring and grinding over there. I wanted to know where exactly did you grow up? Was it still on the western side of the United States? Because I'm
So,
here on the East Coast.
yeah, I grew up in the Midwest, and I moved to Philadelphia in '97. I lived in Philly, and then I lived in DC.
Two places very close to my heart. My heart screams for Philadelphia, and I was born in DC. I
Oh,
do
wow.
I do have to ask now, what was your experiences like? Because at my current location, as I was saying, I've been moving around quite a bit, have a different studio setup everywhere I go. Philadelphia has an energy that I've come to really appreciate that I couldn't when I was working there full time. Some people say
Right.
it's negative, some people say it's terrible, but I've grown to appreciate it's a feeling of survival. It's a feeling that you can feel the work ethic of the people there, and it's very inspiring. Kind of like how other people say New York's dangerous, but it's really just excitement. What was your experiences in Philadelphia and even DC, being that I have so much time in both areas?
So moving from the Midwest is a big shock moving to Philly, obviously, because we moved to Old City, which is, downtown where all the historical stuff is. And, you know, first take, Philly's very abrasive, hands down, very abrasive. But they'll give you anything you need if you need it. So it's abrasive, but once you break through that coat or whatever, it's brother city of brotherly love. Come on, that's a thing, and it's really there. And then DC was 100% the opposite. When I first rode into the train from Philly to DC, it's like, where's the city? Because you don't really see it until you get into actual downtown area, and it's still, it doesn't go above the Washington Monument because you can't. So it's very different, very chill. But we live next to the zoo, so we could hear the animals all the time. In our apartment, you could hear whatever's roaring or monkeys doing their thing. It's cool.
Which zoo was that? Because people don't know there's another zoo, not just the Philadelphia Zoo that everyone's familiar with. Was it the other zoo or was it the Philadelphia Zoo?
This was the zoo in DC.
Oh, my bad.
Now you're totally good. I kind of went from one place to the other place really quick. Yeah, so it was, we live in Adams Morgan in DC, so that's right next to the zoo.
One of the major things, I've already repeated it, you've said it so many times, but you wanted your own music when you were growing up. For me, the reason I love all the music I love, even the music my dad hates, is mainly because of his love for rock music. It
Right.
was off chance of my mom liked Spanish music, and I heard a little hip hop in Spanish right around the exact same time my dad mentioned, like, oh, you know that band? I was playing a video game, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4. And I was like, no, but I love this song. And he's like, that's AC/DC. And then
Right.
the rabbit hole of Sabbath and all the other bands. But your dad was very much into what we're into, the Floyds, the Zeppelins, the Sabbaths. But when I look at the songs that you really took to, Aha, Men Work, I'm like, that's such a left field. So could you explain what your thinking was at the time? Because it's very reminiscent of kids nowadays are like, well, I don't want to root for the Cowboys with my parents, so I'm going with the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like that. It was like my dad's music was his music, and I didn't want that. And then, so like Men at Work, Aha, I listened to a lot. But the first thing that got me into, I was a bass player first, and I've had tubes many times as a kid, so my hearing was a little messed up. So I could really feel the bass, and it was Duran Duran, and they just that hooked me into it. It's like that I want to do that. That whatever that guy's doing is so cool. I want to do that. And then probably my junior, senior year in high school, I rediscovered my dad's music, and I just fell in love with like the Doors, the Who, Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, Sabbath, all that stuff. He had all the vinyl. I would just play it all the time, and it's just so I kind of cut my teeth with the new wave stuff, and then I went to a little punk rock phase, and then like I said, rediscovered my dad's music for classic rock stuff. But man, it still holds to this day. That stuff still holds up.
Now, did you find Men at Work and Duran Duran before your uncle? Because I know your dad had the acoustic guitar at the house, and then he had another, I almost said weapon. Sorry, I love these things so much. They're like
Oh
weapons. They're like a gun. So, but you had music in the house, but your uncle's really the one that pushed you. And I'm trying to remember what that guitar, it was a Frankenstein jazz, I believe it was.
yeah, it was a jazz bass that he had, and uh, I'm not going to call it a Fender because it wasn't a Fender, but it was just a jazz bass body with a neck and a weird pick guard, and he's like, "Here, you can use this for a while as you're learning." And I was like, oh, "I don't want that. It's a sunburst, blah blah blah." But it was free, so I had to shut up and just play it. And he taught me Louie Louie and Stray Cat Strut, and he said, "All right, there you go."
What was that transition? Because I did want to pull back. Usually there's a song that grips us for an instrument, a band, and you saying minute work. It made me think of when I first heard Kasha Gugu.
Oh
And
yeah,
when I first heard the name, I was like, I'm not listening to this trash, whatever. And then I heard the bass line for Shy Shy, and I was so smitten. I was like, all right, give me a bass. Come on.
yeah.
And I still can't play it efficiently today, but it was a hook song. So was there any bands that really got you hooked and you had to play that particular song with the bass as you were playing it for free?
I mean, yeah, Duran Duran for me was for sure one of them. When I got a little older, it was Red Hot Chili Peppers. Even Violent Femmes, that bass player is amazing. So it's just stuff like that. That's like as I started learning my instrument, I started progressing. Oh, I got to say this too. Rush, Tom Sawyer, that song. I learned that when I was 14. It's like, whoa. I, now I look back at it. It's not as hard as I thought it was, but back then it was like I that just blew my brain. I couldn't think about how to play that song.
Did you have a precipice moment? I've been preaching about this recently because it's one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me. Because I'm spiritual, but I like my reality. I like science. That's how I explain it all. Spiritually is science with a little extra. But I had a moment playing guitar. I think I was playing a Megadeth song. I want to say this year, and it was literally like a karate board snapped in my head. I cannot explain it any other difference. The sound was as potent, the feeling like if you were smashing it yourself, like you're a white belt trying to get your next belt. But all of a sudden, all those concepts for me. just like you said, like when you were younger, like Rush is so difficult. All these things I could do but didn't know I could do all of a sudden made sense. So as soon
Yeah,
as I was playing that Megadeth song and I had that, I was like, holy crap, I know exactly what he's doing. I know what I'm doing. It was such a revelation.
right.
When did you have that moment knowing that your proficiency was, hey, I'm a musician now. Hey, I can actually do this and write and actually go out and play? Because you do love playing. That's one of the biggest things you're known for is going out. You don't care, run and gun. Gig, we're going. Everyone's like, hold on, slow down. Do you know where it's at? Who
Yeah,
cares? So
yeah.
when did you have that feeling of confidence and understanding?
Oh, I'm still getting it. No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was like I get more nervous now playing live than I did when I was younger. Maybe because I'm just more conscious of what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing more now than I did when I was younger. So then I didn't really care. It was just go out and be stupid. I don't know. But like my first time on stage, I remember just looking out, going, "Wow, I like that. I want that. How do I do that?" You know, that it was not really like a moment of, "Oh, I can do this forever," or "I can do this really well." It's just like this feels really cool. I want to continue that feeling.
Did your music minor, or at least studying music in college, help with the
I
book?
love the theory. I mean, for me, the theory behind music is still like I started theory in high school, and I didn't understand it. Like when I was 14, my one of my bass teachers was teaching me the circle of fifths. I'm like, what is that? That thing just doesn't make sense now, but when I was 14, I had no idea what he was talking about. And then when I got to theory class in high school, I was like, this is fun. I'm just gonna do stuff, and so it was me, another guitar player, and then the rest of the kids were like band kids or theater kids. So they already had a way big head start from us than we did, but we came up with a different point of view of everything. So the teacher really kind of liked listening to what we were saying or asking or even trying to do because we weren't doing it like they were. They were doing things how everyone else was doing it. We were just doing it like, hey, this sounds cool. Can we do that? She's like, yeah, you can. So, and it's just learning the rules so you can break them.
You said band wasn't that much of a help to you in your musical journey. And for me, I relish in the fact of it, but I also hate the fact that I didn't take it more serious because that was the last time I actually got to play with musicians. I got to play with others. I hold it very fondly, but I'm also very regretful that I wasn't able to relish in that because I didn't know what that experience really meant to me at the time. What was your experience? Was it as potent because you're still playing with others, but there are certain moments I remember that, half-assing, but hey, I killed that triangle solo pretty good, or
Yeah,
they let me play drums when I wasn't supposed to, and that was complicated. The
yeah.
first drum didn't want to play. What was your experience like?
Mine was short lived, so I didn't really give it enough of a go, I guess, really. But just hearing the things even when I was doing it, it was like that was intriguing to me. I didn't know what I was doing, obviously, because I mean, I was 11, 12, 13, 14. I did not have a clue what I was doing, but there were just certain, even we were doing like the minimal stuff that you played as a kid, but you'd hear notes and you'd hear notes with like the clarinet with the violin or whatever. You'd hear them combined with one another. It's like, oh, there's something beautiful there. And then that's the dragon you're chasing, I guess.
I mean, it's always that it's addictive, man. You understand it better than
Oh,
anybody else. I did want to hit, you're also a graphic designer. Was that your major in college as well? And what is it about guitars? Mainly vocalists and guitarists have been the graphic designers.
I was on a track in college. I mean, like the music, I was doing a music for minor thing, but I was on a track for college in journalism school, and I realized that was the wrong side of what I wanted to be on because I always liked art. I was pretty good at it. My dad is way better at it, and his mom was way better at it than he was. They both could outdraw me in a heartbeat. But I just loved the idea of sketching an idea and then, oh, what's this thing in the computer do? And then trying to figure it out. Because back then the computers were terrible as far as doing graphic design work. Like my first internship, we had to, you know, you took a image, took a picture of that image, and then you scan it to a computer, and then you had to take another picture of it and put it into a big layout thing with Ruby Lith and all this stuff to make it work for the magazine to be printed. That doesn't happen nowadays, but it was cool to learn that. But it's just another expression. And like, my mom's an accountant. My dad, he was very more artistic. So I think I have both of those brains that work together. So that kind of translates into playing the guitar or just going after that music thing for me, really.
Well, the missus saw tattoos and glasses. She knew you were a keeper, man. She was like, I got on that.
But the glasses are new, unfortunately.
They don't know that.
Too much staring at the computer.
Back to the guitar. Oh my good sir. You mentioned something. I don't know what guitar it is. I know it's a John 5. You got a Fender, right? You got the Tele Deluxe, but you mentioned the John 5 guitar, and I'm like, what is that guitar? And what's your experience with John 5?
I have, I don't know if you can see it or not, but so that's my John 5 Frankenstein because I've got an aluminum neck on it.
Yeah.
So it's a Robot Graves Industry neck. So this thing weighs a ton, but I I, I got the John 5 Squire Telly out of the blue, and it had a chrome pick guard on it. It's like that needs an aluminum neck. So I got the aluminum neck, and I don't know, it's a beast. And if I could play anything like he could, it'd be great. But I play different. And that's how it goes.
When you play that guitar, what about it feels right? Is it the actual mechanics and the ergonometry for you, or is it the sound you can get out of it?
Yeah, for that guitar, it's a lot brighter, and it just sustains forever. Like you hit a note and you can walk away, and the note still be playing. I mean, it's crazy how that thing sustains. And for a lot of the light within stuff, I use a Tele Deluxe, and that neck, I just I like it. I mean, like I said, I'm not doing any sweep picking or any cool techniques like that, but you give me a tremolo picking thing section, and I will play that faster than most people will, just because I love doing that little sound. It's crazy.
Did you get that Tele in Mexico, or is it just the Mexican guitar?
Yeah, that is. I didn't get it in Mexico, but it's a Mexican made Tele Deluxe. Yeah,
You're known for tremolo picking, and you could do it fast. You're known for that, but then when it comes to a light within, man, unless you got an ear for guitar, a lot of people would miss that. I just wanted to know how you developed. Was there a particular band or sound that made you develop that? Because we were just talking about Flea, and
yeah.
that guy's got me going crazy on the bass. That type of influence. But then when you hear me play, and like the bands I like to play, like I'm playing the simplest killer song. Two notes. The Man is my favorite bass song. The Man, two notes. Yet there's so much more. How did you develop your tremolo style, and when did you know that was the way you wanted to play as a player?
So I think it was the band Mogwai way back in like 1997. I heard one of their songs, and it was just a quick little section, but I was like, what was that? And then I started noticing a lot of post rock bands doing that, like 5 or 6 years later. I'm like, oh, okay. So when I first started really getting into playing guitar, it was like I wanted to do a version of Mogwai, Isis, and Neurosis. That was my inspiration. And then it kind of developed into more of, well, we can keep some of that, but let's do some of that Floyd stuff. And then let's do some of this stuff. I was just trying to like find my way, my own voice, really. And over the years, I think I've got there.
You said you never would have played with a plugin, and now you do. And that was one of those things where you were explaining, like, hey, be open to change, your advice to other musicians. I wanted to know what was the build up for you playing with a plugin because it can be definitely a nerve-wracking experience at first.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I did it, it just didn't have that feeling that you have when you've got a big cabinet behind you pushing all the air at you. And that's what I was used to. That's all I've ever known is doing something like that. And so when Kyle and I started writing more together, he's like, "Hey, let's just forget your amp, plug in, and we'll dial in your tone through there." I'm like, "Oh, it's gonna sound like crap." And the first time we did it, it wasn't the best, but then the next year everything just kind of expanded, got way better, and now it's just like you can't even tell the difference. It's so crazy. It's like, oh well, this is a good tone, but then you record it, but then you can tweak it and make it even better. That's what's cool about it. And you don't have to blast your ears. You don't have to wake your wife up. You can do it downstairs at Kyle's house or my house, and it works. It's just the sounds they have now coming out of those plugins are crazy, and you can just make them even more crazy by just stacking them up or taking the pedal from that one and putting it on this thing. It's endless now. It's so much easier.
You stated as well, and this one hit hard, do what you love. Do what you love or you'll be miserable. And you were in a band that you thought you had to go through it, you had to suffer, you had to fight for what you wanted. And I have experiences similar to that, nowhere near as brutal, but I do
Hmm.
remember when I was trying to do radio and do certain things, and I was like, oh no, I have to be there on time, so I'm gonna sleep in my car, or they didn't hire me again. If I just fight a little longer, and it did get to the point where I knew it was like, okay, you know what, I've stressed every avenue, I need to walk away. What was that band, or at least what was the setting for that band, and when did you have that final moment where you're like, you know what, we got to call it now and no more. I'm only doing it if I love it and I'm invested.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I would say the band previous to this one, we were on a really great trajectory and just like things were going really, really good for us. And we got a email from a promoter in LA said, if you guys are ever out in LA, hit me up. I will give you a show. I'm like, whoa, okay, cool. So I presented this to the guys like, hey, we've done these 3 or 4 day tours. Let's extend it a little bit, go out to LA and, you know, play there and come back. And then 2 weeks later, the drummer's like, I quit through email. He says, I can't do this. He didn't even give a good reason. He just quit. It's like, okay. So then I thought, well, we can keep this together. And then it just, everything kind of fizzled. It's like, well, all right, done. Time to not even think about that one anymore and just move on. But it was good because that's how Light Within formed. So I think it
And
worked out all right.
pretty spectacularly. But Kyle was mentioning how you guys met in Kansas City and he did a project for you on vocals. And then when you started forming a light within, he said you tapped him and then that's how everything transpired. Could you explain that first meeting to me? Was it kind of a nonchalant or was it like, hey, we really connect? And then what was the groundwork for you guys really building the band with the rest of the guys and everything coming to fruition? Because we're talking 2013, 10 years you guys, over 10 years you guys have been together, a decade. That's a strong friendship, that's a strong family in
Right.
music because you're closer than most married couples and people really
Right.
don't understand that sentiment.
It's definitely another marriage for sure. Yeah. So Kyle's band and my band and the other two guys were in a band that we all played together in Kansas City at different times. And the first time I heard Kyle's voice, I'm like, I like that. I want that. I got to keep him in mind. And I always liked what Josh and Nick were doing in their band. So when that other band stopped, immediately I was like, I know who I'm contacting. And we got together and we wrote some music, gave it to Kyle, and he put some vocals on that first song. We're like, oh, this is good. And I was making sure everyone else was cool with it, and they were all cool with it, and we kept moving forward. And I think there's a few times where, you know, Kyle wasn't sure, and then we sent him a new song. He's like, okay. We kept pulling them in, and with that, he and I just become closer and closer, and now we're writing a lot more together, and just it's easy now. I mean, we'll start with a riff, and then before we know it, we'll have half the song done. Oh, I got to go. It's dinner time. Wife's gonna be crazy if I don't get home. So it's just kind of cool to be able to work that way. Which even 5 years ago, I was like, I don't want to do it that way. But you just got to change. You got to evolve and be open and just go with it.
He said that what really sold him was you guys were serious. You guys were serious. What is it about the band that you would say creates this seriousness? Because everybody has different personalities, but it's this idea of like everybody has the same goal in mind. How do you explain that in the terms of the band?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to find even one person that would align with the direction you're trying to go to, let alone four or five. And we just got lucky. I mean, everybody had the similar mindset, and it's just one of those things that kind of move forward. You know, life gets in the way here and there, so that's the big bummer. But you work through it and keep moving on.
Speaking of life getting in the way, COVID, you guys wrote songs and you stated in the past, I believe it was 5 songs that you did, and I believe 3 survived, or maybe it was 2, but I wanted to know the ones that didn't survive.
They're being worked on right now.
What was the come around now? Was it just that they weren't ready for the time, or
They
you guys really had
yeah,
to revamp?
they were nuggets of ideas at that point in time, and then so like Dying Clock was kind of a nugget. Then Kyle put a demo to it, like put a demo together for it, and it sat for a long time. But you know, we did the 4 other songs that we released, the singles, and then we were trying to find something else to work on. And both he and I just always loved that song, so that's the one that we dove back into. We hit a little snafu with trying to move it forward, and that's where Kelly Scott came in and just kind of helped us reinvigorate our feelings toward that song and made us want to, all right, now we got to really put some nice touches to it and finish it up.
Can I ask, only because I want to give respect to the time frame, it has it has been somewhat removed from our minds how stressful COVID was, how really do or die it was. And for some people, I understand they were at home, they could eat, but majority, especially musicians, it was, ooh, yikes.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, like we didn't see Josh for over a year. We didn't see Kyle either because he was at home doing his thing and waiting for new music. But like we tried to get together and it just wouldn't work. Josh got really freaked out about it, which I get. I mean, it was a weird time for sure. And we tried to bring in another guitar player, so we would have 2 guitar players again and a bass player. And things just didn't work out. And just eventually, when everything started clearing up again, we got back together and we played a show, which was great. And then we started doing those singles that we released, which were kind of helped a lot. And then life got in the way again. It's just one of those things. It just kind of keeps happening.
Was there any lessons or any skills you were able to develop during that time?
I actually got way better at playing by ear because growing up, I didn't want to learn anybody else's music. I wanted to create my own music, which is kind of stupid, but that's how I was. I don't know why. And then during COVID, I was picking up the guitar more. I was like, what's that song? I'm gonna play that song. And then towards like 6 months later, like what's that song? And I would actually start playing it before I would learn how to play it. I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I can't play by ear perfectly, or I don't have perfect pitch, but I hear better now, at least what the songs are doing. And since I learned a lot more covers, I can have a better idea of where they're trying to go anymore. So that kind of helped a lot.
Man, it sounds like you were listening to Slayer. That sounds like something Jeff Hanneman would have said. I don't want to play it if it don't sound original.
I was just a weird kid. I don't know.
I wouldn't say weird. I would say ahead of your time. It's always the weird, quote unquote, weird kids. And you grew up during a brutal era when weird was very good. So, you can't be too difficult on yourself, because even now, there's moments where I'll look back, and even with podcasting, someone told me to do it. And I was just like, well, everybody's doing it, so I don't want to do it. And man, nobody was doing it. I would have been in on it, but you have these certain ideas because you hold true. That's the best policy. We can only do our best. But back to when you guys released those singles, man, was it an explosion of people just rushing. I'm not saying like, oh, like this is good. No, fans were coming back, the reviews were there, and it really was a statement of there's one guy said, I'm so happy to write about these guys because they're the first band I ever wrote about, and man, did they do me a solid. of the return of the singles. When you started releasing, because COVID did change the music landscape, no longer, full albums. You want a single and then release the full album. What was the first feeling of like, hey, we've got traction again. We're killing this because it really was a big explosion.
Yeah, I mean, it was just releasing that first single and seeing the response again was so cool. I mean, because we've always moved slowly, so for us to put something out and have people respond to it after so many years is great. And then the fact that we were able to kind of back that up with another single and then, you know, did three in 1 year, which is pretty big for a band who was as slow as we've always moved. It was just kind of cool. I mean, and that's why we did it that way. We didn't want to, since have moved so slowly and we didn't have all the ideas finished, we wanted to put one out, finish one, put that one out, and so on and so forth.
And I was mentioning, I apologize for the interruption. There was meteoric fires and Count with Your Eyes, and wanted to know, was there a particular release that really, really still to this day, it's like, you know what, Rocky, this was a fantastic response for how hard we've been working and what we've become.
You know what? I would say it's the new one that kind of has that feeling because it kind of goes back to the old stuff that we did, but bringing it into a new direction. And I love the last four singles that we put out. They're really, really great, and they captured what we were doing at that time. But this one kind of encapsulates our whole thing and started the new way forward for us.
So we gonna hit it now. Dying Clock. Love the song. Love how you guys have utilized all your influences. I hate when people keep on bringing Floyd into it, but you guys are one of those bands, like I've mentioned with the others as well, that are able to sustain a sound. It's like
Right.
sound is building, but it's not. It's in the same spot. So that anticipation of a drop or a lift, anything could happen. I wanted to know, when writing this song, why did you guys bring in the other players? What was the formation of the song initially? Because I really, really do love songs that have that 90s feel where you can start the intro very low and bring it in and then
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
go on the walk. So what was it about this song that you guys like, you know what? Let's make this the single next.
Yeah. So after we did Identity, we redid our first EP just to kind of bring it up to the modern productions that we've been getting with the singles. And Kyle and I are like, what are we going to do next? And we both have always loved this song. And it was a demo that, he took from a room recording. He made a demo out of that recording by replacing drums and doing a demo bass. And I came over and did guitars to it. And he did some vocals to it. And it's just like, it's one of those songs that just stuck with both of us. And the other guys had life stuff going on and couldn't get to it. So, it just kind of sat. And then, like I said, when I reached out to Kelly and he did the drums, that's resparked it. And then I went in and added actually a lot more guitar stuff than was actually there. And it just kind of made the song go from here to there. And then we released it and we're like, oh, yeah, that's the sound that we're trying to get from this little nugget that we had.
And you've also brought in Kelly Scott from Failure Band. How did you guys become acquainted with him? And what about this felt right for him to be on?
For some reason, I'm Facebook friends with Kelly and Instagram friends with him. And I saw these posts that he was putting out that I'll record drums for your song. I thought, well, that's weird. I bet that's expensive. And then when Kyle and I were talking about finishing the song, it's like, well, Nick's not available, so let's reach out to Kelly. I said, hey, we can reach out to Kelly Scott. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, he's put this post out. Let's see what he says. We sent him the song, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. And then he put us in the schedule, and then like 3 weeks after we got the tracks from him, and we're like, huh, okay. Then we put it into the mix, and like, oh, I see what he's doing, because like every section that repeats, his drums change. just slightly, but enough to propel it forward enough. And then I think the most interesting part is the demo that we sent him. The very ending part of it, it had demo bass and it had synths. That was it. So he kind of created what it is. Because when I heard his drums in that part, I'm like, I'm putting that guitar line on that. So I mean, I did a poor version of it and sent it to Kyle. I was like, I like where you're going. Let's make it better. So we got together and we made it better. And that's the version that everyone's hearing. And I think it's great. And the overall idea of that song when we first started it was going to be a song, two songs, or a song and two movements, or whatever that word is for that. So that's how it was created. That's why it almost seems like, well, it stops and then it starts again because that's the idea of it.
Miss Madeline Robertson. She's also
Yeah.
playing bass on that. What was that interaction like, especially after doing all the demoing? And did she sit down and say, "Let me be as close as I can to the demo," or did you say, "Hey, could you please just throw your little magic on it?"
Yeah, that would be Kyle more than me, but I know that Madeline's been a friend of ours for a long time, and she just, I think the end mix was like a mixture of the demo bass and then what she put together, and then they're kind of put together that way to kind of make it build up as the drums are building up. So like the first part's a little bit more simple, and then the bass kind of builds up, and then it hits a really nice groove at that second verse thing, and it just kind of makes your head bob and like, yeah, that's good. So I think it's a mixture of all that. I could be wrong, but that's what it seems like because I've heard the demo bass for a while. But he took it into the demo bass into a better tone to kind of match with what she was playing.
And this song is going to be part of an EP. It's the final EP out of a three EP. I want to say chronologically, but what would you call the stories that they say? The Wall is this type of album. Iron
Right.
Maiden's, if Eternity Should Fail, that album. I forgot that the album's Book of Souls. Sorry, but it's the concept album idea for these three EPs all in a row. And it seems to me that it's supposed to be this idea of a journal, and every song, whether or not it says day or it has a number attached to it, it's
Right.
supposed to be a journal entry. Could you please dive more in depth of which of the EPs these are, what the names are, and how this overall idea for the EP of three to come about came to your radar for you guys?
Yeah. So that whole idea was an idea that Kyle had when he was first doing it. Like, what are these page numbers? Like, he started doing it from the very beginning. And like, what are these page numbers for this thing? And then he didn't really say anything until like the second record or second EP. And like, oh, okay, cool. But we've already wrapped up the three EPs. This is a like a the next evolution for it. So the hopefully it's going to be a full length because we have 5 songs right now. And we've got two that are pretty solid done, and then one more. So we should have 8 songs. That'll probably be about 40 plus minutes for it. So the idea would be to take the singles that we've put out, including Dying Clock, and then the 3 new ones, and that would be the new full length record, hopefully.
Could you reiterate how you guys write organically? You do like to stay in the D range, and then you've tried to move it while in the D range from regular drop D to not even just D, but A, and you like to experiment. But when you guys say organically, that means a little bit more than me just watching you guys sit down together and then playing and then tinkering with it. Could you
Right.
lay a little bit more of the writing process for you guys because of how in depth you guys have explained other songs? It seems like there's way more than just like, hey, let's sit down and jam.
To this day, all the songs were kind of formed in the room, and then I would take my parts and then rework on them. Especially with the last 5 singles, we would, you know, have the idea kind of written in the room, and then we would take it into the studio with Kyle and rework, so to speak, make the parts better, add more parts to it, and this is how we kind of just build up on that. It's like, hey, instead of playing that, you know, rhythm part this way, just play the first part of it so we can make it bigger, stack it, stack it, stack it. And that, you know, 5 years ago, that was not like what I would have wanted to do. But now it's working so well and it just sounds so good. I was like, all right, let's do that.
Open to change. How do you guys compensate for playing live when you're doing the multiple takes, the tracks, and and excuse me, the stacking? W-
Yeah.
Is are you sorry, I got tongue tied trying to think about it myself. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
Do you guys like to use electronics? I've seen a lot of bands, especially two-person bands that use computers. Are you guys very much grounded on like, no, we have to play everything live. Everything has to be something that somebody can replicate. How do you go about that for live performances?
What we've done in the past is we would have, you know, say a synth line that was part of the song. It would be on a sampler, and it'd be up to the drummer to play in time with it, and he was really good at that. So we just play the sample, and then we would play the song to it. But as we move forward, the goal is to, you know, have all the tracks playing in the background. As far as like synthesizer or anything weird sounds like that, that all be part of the background stuff, background tracks, and then everything else would be live bass, live guitar, live drums, etc.
Has that ever proved difficult? Because most people think it would be easy, but actually it could be a hindrance playing with a recording.
Yeah, I mean, luckily early on, a lot of that stuff wasn't very, you know, if that part was missed, it was fine. Like as far as like the synth part would be really low in the mix. It wasn't like a hero part to the song, so we would just play our parts over it. Now it's going to be interesting when we play live again because it'll be me trying to find out what part I want to play per part. Do I want to play that quieter part or do I want to play the bigger part? Or is that part going to be covered with the tracks? But there's always room for us to, it's recorded this way and it sounds awesome. If you play it this way live, it's still going to sound awesome. So it's cool. I mean, we're not tech nerds, so it's not going to have to be like, have to be right on, but it still has to have that feeling though, for sure. Because if it misses the feeling, then it's not us.
Not tech nerds, man. That's the biggest computer I've seen in the studio in my life behind you. I see what you're working with.
Oh, that's a bass cab.
I'm just joking.
No, no,
You've had some places that were downright legendary before they're gone. You mentioned the Riot Room, man. That's like a metal staple for
yeah.
not forget the underground. People know about it, and that's the
Oh
beauty
yeah.
of it. But they're gone. I wanted to know if there's any places you've played that are still close to your heart, or even venues that you were at that, had that special feeling for you as a player.
I'll say this: I played CBGBs 3 times when I lived in Philly. I mean, and it's an institution, and it was so weird playing there. Did I love it? No, but did I love it? Yeah, of course I did. But in our city, we have the Record Bar, which is an amazing place. It's kind of not really taken over what Riot Room was because they were all together at the same time, but it's just a great bar. And then the owners of Record Bar have this another one called Mini Bar, which is obviously smaller, but it's grown from what it used to be to just a you know practice playing in your friend's basement to now feeling like, oh, this is actual a really good venue and got great sound now. And they moved everything around before like the bar was right in the middle and the stage was over here, so it was just kind of weird. But now it's like there's the stage, the bar's back here, everyone can stand there. We're lucky that we have good venues here. We've lost some like Riot Room, like you mentioned, but which sucks to lose it. But there's another bigger one that popped up called Warehouse, and they're going to have a smaller room for like local bands inside of that, and it's just down the street from where Riot Room was. So I think that might fill up some of that lost space.
To be able to perform and play, you know, What is the performance that you guys had that really everything was firing all cylinders? I know you're gonna have mess ups, but I love hearing when the musician is in the pocket and it was for everything. They're playing, the vibe, the band, just perfect.
Yeah, I would say for us, it was our release party for Epilogue, that last EP of the trio. That was at Record Bar, and we were smart because we rented out Record Bar for our practice. So we got our sound dialed in. The sound guy was there for that practice too. So when we went to play the show, it was just like, oh wow, we've already done it, you know. But it was the mood was perfect. The crowd was really good, and it was just one of those things where I wish I could just be over there just watching, you know. It just felt that good.
I didn't get to ask, and I know it's a stupid question, everybody asks it, but what inspired the name for you guys?
So when my last band broke up, I was kind of in a dark place, which, musicians get there when shit doesn't work. And when I started this one, I just started thinking of that feeling inside. I called it the light within because that was the light that made me come out. It's like there's that hope, you know. So that's essentially where it came from. Just an idea that I had, a feeling that I kind of came to once I started playing again. It made me feel better, and I put this whole thing together around that, like a little intro thing that we used to do, but we haven't done that in a long time. And then I just kind of started developing the logos from that, and we try to evolve it as each cycle happens. There's some parts will still remain from the previous one, but then it evolves into something else.
We didn't really touch your transition from bass to guitar, but you mentioning that period of darkness, for me, guitar has always been that instrument to deal with emotions. During the pandemic, I had some nothing I would say would have been too crazy, but they were very emotional
Right.
feelings that there's just no way I could have truly conveyed. It was one of those things where you just have to deal with it, and it was a painful reality of dealing with it. And guitar was the only relief. None of the martial arts I did, none of the fighting or the podcasting. Guitar was the only relief I had. So for me, it's much more personal. During that time frame, what did you stop playing before A Light Within started? And when was that transition to guitar? What was that moment you said, I'm a bass player, but guitar is where it's at?
Yeah, I think that's happened maybe. I mean, started playing guitar like in '94, but really badly. I wrote a couple songs in my band at the time, and I had to play the guitar because the guitar player's like, I'm not playing that. But then it probably sat for another 13 years or so before I actually was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up the guitar and I'm going to start writing songs. And like Pink Floyd's a big thing for me. And for me, it was kind of hard to capture that emotion of Pink Floyd on bass. So obviously with the guitar, you have more voicings you can do and more sounds that you can create. And so it was just that transition going from I wanted to create this thing. I can't do it over here, unfortunately, even though I love bass. Bass is my baby, obviously, because that's what I started with. But there's just something about the tones, some of the feelings, just even some of the sounds that you can't do on bass. And I just went after it and started writing and haven't looked back.
And what about that period? Did you stop playing altogether, or was it more so just let me slow down a bit, let me reevaluate life?
Yeah, you know what? I was in that dark spot for a minute, but I knew who I wanted to reach out to, and they responded pretty quickly. So for me, I wasn't there too long, which is good. But yeah, I really didn't play until we started getting a Life Within together. Like from the time that the other band stopped into a Life Within, it's like I didn't play, and it might have been 2 months maybe, but still, there was a 3-year period where I didn't play at all, and I was a complete jerk to my wife, unfortunately, because I didn't have my creative outlet. But with that time frame, it was, you know, it was pretty quick to come back into playing and into creating. So I wasn't such a jerk, I guess.
I hope you were able to make amends, man, because there's one
Oh
thing
yeah,
women get back at us. It's the craziest ways too. Won't even be like the stereotypical, like I'm gonna stab you. It'd be like, oh, I snapped your guitar neck. I'm like, nah, dude.
yeah.
But I tend to always ask about the support the missus gives the significant other. Obviously now that you're able to realize you were a jerk at the time, how has she been able to deal with the life of being a wife of a musician? Because that in itself, not as crazy as, being the wife of a veteran, but same circumstances. How has your wife been able to maneuver the life as a wife of a
Yeah.
musician?
She's been really good. It's like she knew what she's getting into from day one. So because I told her, and we've been together for a long, long time. I won't say it because I don't want to say how old I am, but no,
Just
we've been
don't.
together since 1991. So that'll tell you something. And you know, she let me build the studio down here. She deals with me practicing 2 or 3 times a week, here and there, depending on what's going on. I'll go upstairs and TV be super loud, like, "Hey, we're done." She's like, "Oh, okay, great." But she knows I need it. I think. I mean, she didn't at first. It was a struggle at first because it's like I'm giving as much attention to the band as I was to her, or sometimes more to the band, especially at the beginning. But then I also learned I have to be able to, all right, I'm giving this now. Now it's your turn. So back and forth that way. Yeah, but she's a huge supporter. Loves seeing me play. So I mean, I'm a lucky guy.
And you can't buy that support. I mean, 2 decades, man, regardless of whatever you guys have been through, to still be in it, to still support each other. What for you is the next step for Light Within, and not the typical, we're finishing up the single so we can drop the CP. We want to tour here. What is the true next step for you? Is like this is where I really need us to get to for this band's sake.
Wow, haven't thought about that. I just want to keep creating and experimenting and writing new stuff. I know Kyle is on board with that. I, we do want to play live again, but I don't know how quickly that will happen. I mean, we're both at the point now. It's like it's got to be the right thing, and then like who are we going to get to, play with us? So we have to figure that out. Is it going to be our guys, or are they going to not ever talk to us again? Who knows? I don't think. I mean, we're still friends and love those guys, and hopefully we can play with them again. But at the moment, I don't know. But the idea is just to kind of keep moving forward, keep doing what we do, and create something great.
And you have been, man. Especially the love. You get a twinkle in your eye speaking about the music. And Kyle, he doesn't shut up about it. He's just
Yeah.
gun. I've been busting this guy's chops this whole interview, but it is something where you have that Keith and Richard dynamic, Lars and James, this understanding of each other. Maybe two completely different people, but together the melding of the minds mashes. Before I let you go, I did have to ask you about how his love of music, even though it's kind of the same influence wise, how do you guys gel? Is it more of a symbiotic feeling of like I know exactly where he's gonna go with this, or is it more so just that bouncing back and forth, just like the organic style?
Yeah, for us right now, it's more about the bouncing back and forth. I know we've been together a long time, but we we like I would say 95% of the EPs were written while Kyle wasn't there because he would prefer coming to practice with us having songs ready for him. and now we're moving away from that. So he and I are learning how to do that, and it's actually kind of gelling really nicely because he'll say, "Hey, try this." I'm like, "Oh, you mean that?" He's like, "Yeah, it's perfect." Or, "No, that's stupid, Jeff. Do something different." So, and I don't get mad. Like 20 years ago, I'd be like, "Fuck you, that's the best thing ever." Whatever. But as every musician says, "That's great. What are you talking about?" But
But
no, so now it's just like he listens to what I have to say, I listen to what he has to say, and then we come to, oh yeah, that's what it needed.
yeah, but you need the trip. Man, when you get everybody BSing you live that they are saying like that suck, you got to build up that defense, that strength, but to be able to open up to somebody or others and be able to listen to the criticism, man, it's a time thing. It really is, but it's also something that, again, we're in a different world. It's a totally different feel when it comes to this style. But I did have to ask for grunge because there's a band called Mother's Day Out that I haven't heard in a long time. They were on the Mortal Kombat album.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of stuff you do. They're more grungy, more faster paced, more crazy. But back to when I told you with how you guys manipulate the sounds and bring the, I hate saying Pink Floyd, but the Pink Floyd story and ability, it's very smooth. You guys, both you and Kyle, have had that ability to make a story out of every song musically. Even the vocals are ringing a melody. I wanted to know what were some of the other grunge influences in the 90s? Because I really didn't get to pick your brain about what your cousins introduced you to that was metal. Because at the time it was kind of like, oh, that's nice. And then when you really dug into it, it's like, oh, I'm starting to see where the influence was. I'm starting to think some of the more guitar stylings, even though it's slower in my mind, it's like, ooh, that's heavy. It's not
Yeah.
evil, but it's heavy, and I like it. So I wanted to know what the '90s music really was as far as your playing inspired.
Yeah, like, I heard Bleach well, not when it first came out. After Nevermind came out, I heard Bleach, I'm like, "That's awesome, that's really cool." But then, I loved early Alice in Chains, Soundgarden's completely amazing, and then there's some bands also from Seattle called Tad. Have you ever heard of Tad?
Yeah.
They're they're incredible. They deserve so much more, and, I don't listen to what the Melvins do anymore, but early Melvins were just like at one record they're the fastest band around, the next record they're the slowest band around. There's just stuff like that. So many chances they took. That's kind of like what I try to emulate when I do stuff. Try to take chances. Try to just do things that aren't like everyone's doing this. I want to do that.
I respectfully always ask the most important question last. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I will say I wish I had heard this a long, long time ago. As far as playing music, someone said, "Just have fun with it. If it's not fun, it's not worth doing." I mean, and oh, I wish I would have had that in my 20s. Would have been so much easier. But I lived to that to this day. Like, and I heard that maybe 10 years ago, which probably 20 years too late. But at the same time, you know, you move on with it, and that's what I try to do. If it's not fun, I'm not going to do it. There's no point in it, and that's life. Like, whatever you're doing in life, if it's not fun, it's not worth doing. Like, I have a job that I love, and I'm lucky that I have a job I love. I don't always love it, but every day I get up and do it because it's fun. And that's I'm gonna move forward the rest of my life that way. It's like if you're not fun with me, or if I'm not having fun with you, or we're not gelling in that type of situation, see, I'm not gonna deal with it.
Let me break character. Ladies and gentlemen, that was a wonderful, intense interview with Jeff. Man, before anything else, go check out the links below. We got Dying Clock out now on Spotify. We got it on Bandcamp. Again, A Light Within. You could find them literally just typing A Light Within. They don't mess around with the name. It's on Bandcamp, it's on Facebook, even on Instagram. You just got to put A Light Within Band. Spotify, as I mentioned, X. I'm telling you, the links are below, and if you're just listening over the phone or the car, type it in. You'll find them immediately. Good sir, thank you so much for a wonderful opportunity to speak with you. You got such amazing playing that I can't wait to hear the next iteration and what you guys drop.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
And everyone else, be smart, be mindful, rock on, go listen to A Light Within, and as always, ninja out.
Woo, baby, you listen to John the Ninja. Oh, your ears are about to go on a vacation. John the Ninja's got what you need.